Why should the N-word be banned? I never thought my black relatives could be so cruel until the day they targeted my mixed daughter Keisha and told her she was too whitewashed to be related. Throughout the entire barbecue, they mocked her suburban accent, calling her Carlton and Becky. When I pulled my daughter to dance with us to an old school R&B, my uncle laughed and joked, "Oh lordy lordy, we lost Keisha to them white folks." Keisha's eyes filled with tears. Later that night, she told me, "Mama, they were right. I'm whitewashed, but I'm done with that. Black is beautiful. I'm going to be who I really am." At first, I was thrilled to help Keisha connect with her heritage. That weekend, I took her to the Black History Museum for the first time, talking about our family ancestry during the tour. She absorbed every word, asking questions about her great-grandparents I'd never heard before. When she asked for more to read, my white husband Mark bought her the autobiography of Malcolm X to keep her educated and show his support. She finished it in 3 days and immediately asked for more. The next Saturday, I took her to a downtown braid salon for her first cornrows. The braider ran her fingers through Keisha's hair and smiled. "Now that's a beautiful black girl," she said. Keisha beamed like I hadn't seen in years. My family noticed the change too. They praised her for coming home to her roots, and she'd reply back proudly in Ave. But after a couple months, Keisha became different, harder somehow. She started using the N-word around Mark aggressively, slamming doors in his face whenever he'd try to talk to her. One night at dinner, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You ain't black enough for marrying him. You sold out our people." I should have corrected her then, but the guilt ate at me. The shoplifting incident should have been my wake-up call. When security brought her home after shoving earrings in her bag, she blamed me for teaching her to worship white capitalism. I felt lost. Every time we tried to ground her for doing something bad, she'd talk about how we were suppressing her for acting black. Even my mother noticed something was wrong. At Sunday dinner, she finally spoke up. "This ain't right, baby." Keisha turned ice cold. "Y'all the ones who said I wasn't black enough? Now I'm too black?" She laughed bitterly. "Can't win with y'all." When I weekly suggested therapy, she dismissed it immediately. "That's for white people, ma." Soon she was spending time in dangerous neighborhoods downtown, coming home later and later with new friends who'd eye our house like they were casing it. Mark tried reaching out one last time. "Don't speak to me, colonizer," she spat. I finally set my foot down and threatened, "Keisha, if you're gonna be like that, leave this house." She flipped us off and walked out with her friends. Keisha slept over at a friend's who kept us updated until things cooled off. Unfortunately, we'd never recover as a family. Just 3 days after leaving, my mother called, breathing heavily with a shaky voice. "Baby, oh god, baby, Keisha's was spotted with a gang. Your nephew told us they were planning something big on the east side tonight, right outside the deli corner store." I hung up and screamed for Mark, trying to set up the GPS immediately. We raced to the location he gave us, but the shooting had already started when we arrived. Mark jumped out of the car before I could grab him, before I could tell him to wait for the police. He ran toward the gunfire screaming, "Keisha, no!" Through the chaos, I saw her lean out the passenger window with a gun, and then everything went sideways. Bullets flew from another car that came screeching around the corner. Mark was caught right in the middle. He spun like a dancer and fell hard to the pavement, blood pooling beneath him immediately. I screamed and rushed over to try to drag his body back to safety. "One less white man in the world," Keisha shouted, stepping out of the car. She walked past his body without even looking down, like he was trash on the street. "This what real black folk do, Mom. You wanted me to be white, but I chose my people." I pressed my hands against the wounds, trying to hold his life inside him. "That colonizer wasn't never my real father anyway," she continued, standing over us. "This your fault for marrying him." Through my tears, I screamed, "Being black doesn't mean joining gangs and hurting innocent people. Being black means being kinder, more patient, more resilient, Keisha. Not this." She looked at me with eyes I didn't recognize anymore. "Ain't no good black or bad black, ma. Only black black." The police arrived within minutes, but it felt like hours. They arrested Keisha while she was still ranting about liberation and revolution. Mark died in my arms before the ambulance came, his last words barely a whisper. "Tell Keisha I love her." The gang members had scattered like roaches when the lights came on, leaving her behind to take the fall. I sat there in his blood, sirens wailing, realizing I'd raised a killer who unalived her own father, the man who'd taught her to ride a bike, who'd stayed up helping with her homework, who'd raised her with nothing but love. They gave Keisha 20 years for murder and gang activity. A week after getting jailed, she called me up just to mock, "Bet you wish I was white now."